What's going on, everybody? Today we're talking about some slope, some linear equations, and a question that keeps popping up on the state test, which is this word interpret. And it says, hey, can you interpret? I'm throwing the graph everywhere. Can you interpret the slope? Can you interpret the y-intercept? It will also maybe ask, what does it represent in real life? So what does the slope represent, or can you interpret the slope in real life? So we're going to go ahead and take a look at those two questions. And basically, can we put into our own words, ding, 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 can we put into our own words what's happening with the problem, with the information that's given? So here we go. Cool. On our first graph, we have the height of a tree on our y-axis. And over time, it's the years since planting. So we're trying to interpret our slope. So if you want, you can go ahead and calculate the slope and figure out the numbers that are happening there. Like it looks like we started at 4, and then we're going up to 14, so that's a change of 10. We're at 0 on the x, and we go over to 5 on the x, so 10 over 5. So our slope is 2, but the question is saying, what does that represent? Can you interpret that 2? Interpret that 10 over 5. What does that mean? Some people like to write that as 2 over 1 as well. So it's to what? To what's happening? Well, remember, slope is change in y over change in x. So we should be talking about 2 as we're talking about our y-axis. So our y-axis is the height of the tree in feet. So I can go ahead and take all of this and basically say, oh, we're talking about 2 feet per, what were our x's? Our x's were years. So 2 feet per year. Now, if you just wrote 2 feet per year, like, what are we talking about that has 2 feet? I have 2 feet every year. Like, that's not interpreting the question very well, or it's not really explaining like what's going on. So once you do simplify that, you need to take a look. We're talking about the slope. Interpret the slope. This is a positive slope. So it is a gain. It is an increase. It is increasing 2 feet per year. Right? Cool. If I want to even get better, like, why don't you say the height of the tree? Like, look at that y-axis. The height of the tree is increasing 2 feet per year. All right? So that's what you're going to be seeing on the state test. That's really how we want to interpret this slope. Right? Talk about that y-axis, that y over x. The height of the tree is increasing those 2 feet per year. Okay? Cool. I'm going to go ahead and interpret the slope on this next one, and I'm not even going to talk about numbers. Not even going to talk about numbers. What do you notice about the slope? It's going down. Cool. It's decreasing. It's losing. It's shrinking. It's negative. It's less. What are we talking about? Our bank balance. Okay. How does money go down? What word can you use? You're losing. You're spending. There's no one right answer here, but you'll see it on the state test. We are spending money. We're spending money. I didn't even calculate the slope. I can figure it out in a second, but we're spending money per month, right? That's the time in months. We're spending how much money per month. Cool, I could be done right there. If you want to go ahead and practice slope, let's go ahead and practice slope. What's happening with the y's? They're going down 20. What's happening with the x's? They're going up 2. So simplify that slope. That's a negative 10. So I'm spending $10 per month. Cool. That's how we interpret slope. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the last one. Again, I'm just focused on slope. It is positive. We are gaining, increasing, receiving, any of those words. We're talking about distance in miles. All right, so we are gaining miles. We're gaining distance. It's an increase in miles, right? So we are increasing. How many miles? I don't know. But we are increasing miles per gallon. Oh, we've heard that phrase if we are getting ready to take our driver's test maybe, or we're buying gas. Miles per gallon, it's a common phrase. That's because it's coming from interpreting slope, interpreting real life data. What does it represent? Miles per gallon, we're figuring that out right here. How much is it increasing? It's increasing 44 on the y over the x, which is 2. So 44 over 2 is 22, is an increase of 22 miles per gallon. So that's how we're doing our interpret slope. Let's go ahead and take a look at our y-intercept. And I'm going to go ahead and erase and keep all this fresh for you. Let's go ahead and interpret our y-intercept. We know our y-intercept is where our graph hits the y-axis. Let's go ahead and highlight that point. Boom, there it is. Okay, it's a starting point. We want to represent or talk about something about starting. How does a tree start? Probably since it was planted. You see that word in the graph there. So how do I interpret that y-intercept? I know it's 0, 4 by looking at the graph, but 0 what? 4 what? Let's interpret it. 0 is the years since planting, so that means I just planted it. 4 is the height of the tree. Cool, I think the y-intercept means 4 foot tall tree, 4 foot tree, when it was planted, right? You don't say when it started. How does a tree start? I don't know. Was it a seed? Did you buy it from a store or a nursery? This one right here says years since planting, so it's clearly a 4 foot tree when it was planted. All right, next one. We got that bank balance again, okay? What does bank balance mean at the beginning? How much you started with when you created that account, right? So we can find the y-intercept up here, but I don't even know what that is. I can look at it. I don't need that number in order to write an interpretation, right? But if I do look a little closer, it looks like it's going by tens. So I'm going to call that 170. But again, I don't need that 170 when I am describing or interpreting or representing it. So 170 is, I had $170 deposit maybe, $170 put into the bank account, right, at the start, at 0 months. So when I just started that bank account, I had $170 deposit, plugging it in, put that much money in at the start of the account. Cool, and last one, let's go ahead and interpret the y-intercept for this last one. It looks like it's at 0, 0, which makes sense. When I've traveled 0 miles, I've spent 0 gallons of gas. So 0 miles traveled equals 0 gallons of gas. What else could I write? I haven't traveled anywhere, so I haven't used any gas. There you go. Just kind of use some common sense there, right? So find that point. If it helps to talk about numbers, then go ahead and talk about numbers, right? Do you want to mention 0 and 4? Cool. Tell me what the 4 stands for and tell me what the 0 stands for. Do you want to use this point up here at 0, 170? Awesome. You better mention 0 months and $170. And for the last one, you can mention 0, 0. You just better mention 0 miles and 0 gallons.